The Duchess of York is urging everyone to get checked after she revealed a shock breast cancer diagnosis in the latest episode of her podcast, Tea Talks. Sarah Ferguson, who's 63, said she'd put off getting routine checks until her sister insisted she went for one. She recorded the episode just before having a single mastectomy. Let's have a listen.
Tomorrow I'm going in for a mastectomy.
Yeah.
And not a single mastectomy, but it's very important that I speak about it. So when it airs, you will know that I have been through this. But the thing is, Sarah, is I cannot tell you, what sprung to mind was my father when everyone rang him and said, why, no one wants to hear from you, Ronald. And I don't mind if no one wants to hear from me.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you that I am doing this. Yeah. I am telling people out there because I want every single person that is listening to this podcast to go get checked, go get screened.
Joining me in the studio now, our Royal Editor, Sarah Hewson, and down the line, Dr. Philippa Kay, the GP. Let me talk to Sarah first, and then we'll come straight to Philippa. So, Sarah, I've written a column this morning, it comes out in the Daily Express on Tuesdays, and I said, I think good for her. You know, it's very brave. My own thoughts are, you know, very often when something happens to you like that, you want to keep it quiet. She's had 5 days in hospital, she's had surgery. She might want to just stay stum about it, but she hasn't done that. She's spoken out, and what she said was, I didn't have any symptoms, and it was a routine screening, and I got my diagnosis. And I think that's terrific that she's done that, don't you?
And she wants to shout about that actually she went to that routine screening. She said it was just after the bank holiday weekend. It was really hot. She thought, oh, do I have to go? And her sister Jane, who lives in Australia, she was on the phone to her and she said, you have to do this. It's really important. She went to the screening. She went to the Royal Free Hospital in London. She had a mammogram with contrast dye injected. That detected a shadow in her breast. Now, she had no other symptoms. There was no lump detected. She would have had no idea. But because of that early diagnosis, she was taken for pretty immediate surgery. She's had a mastectomy now and her prognosis is very, very good. And we know that early diagnosis is key. People who are diagnosed early, 97% of those will go on to survive for more than 5 years. And that is why she feels very passionately that people should get out there and be checked. And you heard her there mention her father.
Yes.
Now, her father had prostate cancer, and she talked about how he went on the radio and did an interview with the same message as she's giving today. Men, go and get checked. And he received calls from his friends saying, we don't want to hear about it.
Really?
And she talked about the generational differences and the stigma around talking about it. We're not there now.
Definitely
we do
not.
talk about these
I'm glad
things.
to talk about it on this show. I'll talk about it really till kingdom come, until the cows come home. I want to talk about it. Let's discuss it with Dr. Philippa Kay. Dr. Philippa, this is a good thing, isn't it, that she's spoken out, and she is kind of a living testament, thank goodness, to the importance of routine screening, because she said she didn't feel a thing, find a thing, notice any change, nothing at all.
I mean, I don't want anybody, whether they're a famous celebrity, a royal or not, to have cancer. But we do know that when people who are in the public eye speak out, that it actually is very powerful and does help other people come forward. So I really think that it is a good thing that she has done that, because we know that breast cancer screening saves about 1,300 lives every single year. And breast cancer is the commonest cancer in the UK. It will affect 1 in 7 women at some point in their lifetime. And the whole point of the breast cancer screening programme is to pick it up before you might find a change, a lump, something else going on in the breast. So if we could pick it up even before you might notice it yourself, then we have an even better chance that the surgery that you might need would be smaller, that you would need less treatment, and you are more likely to have a better outcome.
So it said, Dr. Philippa, that she went into the Edward VII Hospital, which is where the royal family usually goes when they need an operation of some kind, that she had a single mastectomy, and that she was in hospital for about 5 nights. So talk us through what will have happened to her in the hospital.
So depending on where your cancer is and the size of your cancer in relation to the size of the rest of your breast, you have a conversation with your surgeon about whether or not you can have what we call a wide local excision, a lumpectomy, or whether or not you would need a mastectomy. And then it seems that she's had a single mastectomy, so one side. And then at the same time as that, we will already be talking about whether or not you might want to have reconstruction. And some people will have reconstruction immediately, and some people will have reconstruction later, and some people will choose not to have reconstruction. But reconstruction is available on the NHS. It's considered part of your breast cancer surgery treatment. And depending on the size of the surgery that she had, she may have woken up with some drains and some tubes inside, which have been removed over the next few days. And she will start to have some physiotherapy to make sure that everything around the shoulder and the chest is moving well. Depending on what is found, because they will have also sampled some of the lymph nodes in her armpit and some of them if they found something there. Depending on what was found, she may also be offered radiotherapy and sometimes chemotherapy as well. So it might not be the end of the line for her treatment yet. We just don't know.
Dr. Kay, thank you very much indeed. Testament to the importance of going for routine screening. If they offer you the screening, take it. Let's carry on with more royal news now, though. Prince William has launched an ambitious programme to end homelessness within 5 years. The future king is personally funding the £3 million projects in flagship locations across the UK.
After so many years in the making, today is the day we launch HOMEWARDS, a transformative 5-year programme that will demonstrate that it is possible to end homelessness. I first visited a homelessness shelter when I was 11 with my mother. The visits we made together left a deep and lasting impression. I've met so many extraordinary people and listened to so many heartbreaking personal stories. Too many people have found themselves without a stable and permanent place to call home. Through these visits, I have seen firsthand the breadth and complexities of homelessness.
Gosh, nobody can say that Prince William is a vacuous royal doing nothing but cutting ribbons. I mean, to go in public and say, I'm going to end homelessness in 5 years, it's a hell of a thing to claim that you might be able to do. So how is he going to do it?
Well, it's bold and it's a big ambition,
Huge.
Vanessa. It has... it's his first intervention as the Prince of Wales, first major intervention as the Prince of Wales, but something that he's been working towards and campaigning for decades now. He talked about that first visit to a homeless shelter when he was just 11 years old. So what he's got is 6 pilot schemes around the UK. He's visited 3 of them today, in Lambeth, in London, in Bournemouth and in Newport in Wales. And it's a coalition, really, of charities, of the voluntary sector, of businesses, of local authorities, of individuals, of experts, all coming together to try and find a solution to the homelessness problem. Now, he talks about the numbers of people who are homeless in one form or another, not all living on the streets, but sofa surfing, living in cars, living in hostels, temporary accommodation, and trying to find them a permanent home. And it is about building houses and homes for those people.
And he's going to be making grants from his personal charity, grants of £500,000 in each one of the 6 different places. And how is he going to cut through all the red tape that so often stops local councils or governments or even housing associations building homes? And we keep on hearing there are big pushes to build. Then there's a tremendous amount of NIMBYism saying, no, not in my backyard, I don't want any development near here, thank you. And nothing happens. So how is he going to transcend that?
Well, I think that's the biggest challenge, isn't it? Look, as a member of the royal family, he can look further and longer term than a short-term political viewpoint, I guess. But he's also got to be careful not to stray into the politics. He is getting into the political arena here. He's held meetings with Michael Gove, he's held meetings with Keir Starmer. His father wasn't afraid to get into the political arena, either was he, on climate change. And I think William is very keen that this be seen as a social issue that needs a societal approach to it. So he's convening those people together to try and cut through that red tape and really make a difference.
We were told, weren't we, that William and Kate were determined to do it differently. They were no longer going to just bowl up somewhere, get out of a car, watch some children dancing, cut a ribbon, plant a tree, throw a bottle of champagne against a ship and go home. They weren't going to do that anymore. It was going to involve getting donations from local businesses and local dignitaries beneficiaries and local patrons and making something big happen and leaving a kind of lasting legacy in each different place they touch down in. It sounds as if they really are working on that.
And it is all about legacy. I mean, this
Yeah.
is his big legacy project inspired by his mother, the other one being Earthshot, inspired by his father's work on climate change. And the local approach is absolutely key here, because this is local organisations, local people finding a solution to their own individual local challenges. And the hope is that at the end of the 5 years, the results of these 6 pilot schemes will give hope to the rest of the UK, and that this model can be rolled out across the UK. And in terms of them doing things differently, the royal family have got a real challenge to reach out to a younger generation. Our younger generation don't want a head on a postage stamp and, as you say, someone just cutting a ribbon. They want someone who makes a difference, and this is one of those issues where he really does strive to make a difference.
So it looks like a huge deal, doesn't it? It's an enormous aim, it's vastly ambitious, it's out there, and now he's got to act on it, and we'll see whether he does or not. Phenomenal.
Indeed.
Courageous, I'd say.
And it is a big ambition, and you know, he's not just talking about making a difference and improving homelessness, he's talking about ending it within 5 years.
Sarah,